Hi everyone, I'm Nazlı, and as a woman who has been told many times why am I overreacting or mansplained during my career, this is my chance to overreact to sexism in the workplace. But first, I want to tell you a story. This is Roya. She was working as a designer in a startup and told me her story as she was being told like she's the face of the company and asked to be present in the meetings, in the client meetings without doing anything, just for welcoming people. She ended up with saying, "I'm not a hostess, you know." The weird thing is that deep down she felt a little bit like being taken advantage of, but she didn't want to mention it to her boss because this job seemed like a great opportunity for her. But she's not totally comfortable with the situation either. Well, Roya doesn't know what she doesn't know. Her career pursuit is more important than dealing with issues around sexism. Defining it is hard, and reacting to it is even harder. Yet she's not the only one. A research from 2015 in corporate sector shows that women are 4 times more likely than men to think that they have fewer opportunities at work. And they are also 3 times more than men to say that they have personally missed out on an assignment or raise or promotion because of their gender. It's 2016 and sexism is still an issue. So when I was trying to gather information around how to react to sexism, my interviewees addressed a much deeper pain point. After the first shock, there's a time where these women struggle with interpretation of what happened in these incidents. So before reaction, there's self-reflection, and this is where women try to discuss the situation internally. And this self-reflection process defines the decision-making that influences their reactions. For this reason, self-reflection is the most influential stage that stimulates these further steps. During interviews, I found out that some women can find it difficult to trust in their ability to contemplate and be decisive without avoiding. An interviewee said, "I felt so guilty and ashamed, not just because I didn't speak up earlier, but also because I couldn't trust myself to differentiate between whether something was wrong or not." And another interviewee said, another interviewee explained her struggles in the reflective process by saying, "Self-doubt becomes so pervasive. Young women in early careers can get lost in mind-baffling debates and avoid from confrontation." So among 10 women I interviewed with, some of their concerns were about doubtful inner debates that hinders trust and lack of perspective, and eventually blocks constructive discussion. The internal issue with sexism is that activating in trust in self during self-reflection process can be confusing for young women who are dealing with sexism. So how does this self-reflection work really? It starts with the questions that we ask ourselves. And when a woman's inner voice starts to ask questions about the particular incidents, that's where women can fall into self-doubt. So I asked, how can these young women communicate with themselves in a much more constructive and supportive way? For a supportive self-reflection in these times, they need to be non-judgmental to themselves, they need to provide an attentive and constructive discussion, and instill confidence and clarity in self-judgment to validate their perspective. For these needs in self-reflection phase, I ideated for self-reflection tools to facilitate more conscious discussions for women to be more aware of their inner debate. I recorded their own conversations with the questions I asked. And after some time, by helping them to get back to their comments, I wanted to see if it provides a more objective viewpoint. And I tried this method over different platforms such as texting, Snapchat, and talking to mirror. And to help women to open up about their situations, I provided them with a virtual friend that they can relate to. This character is someone who has gone through the similar sexism and wants to listen to now. So I introduce you Cassandra, Greek goddess, who has been a victim of sexism by Apollo in Trojan times. Rebecca Solnit explains her story as, "She was cursed with the gift of accurate prophecies no one heeded. Her people thought she was both crazy and a liar." For these 3 prototypes, I used different platforms and facilitated conversations in the form of Cassandra. During conversations with women, Cassandra introduced herself as Cass and shared her story, and encouraged participants to open up their situation. She asked several questions to get user explain her situation, and after a week, shared the script of their conversation and got the participant to read and think about what she said in her comments. By using these different platforms, I measured the comfort level on sharing, the depth of conversations, and the impact it had on the user. The most effective one was the mirror activity because it had the actual talking exercise of talking out loud. Karen said that she was able to respond to the guy when she was confronted with him in a much more concise way than she's normally speaking. In text messaging, Leela said that talking to a goddess felt like she could say anything without worrying about what the response would be. And in Snapchat, Rebecca said that physical manifestation of it made her a lot more validated. So in these 3 prototypes with 6 women, they all gained a more impactful perspective of their situation. And visiting recordings provided self-validation and confidence. And they all said they would come back to it even in the future if another sexist incident happens to them. Moving forward, I took the mirror exercise as actual talking practice and facilitated the conversation by text messaging, by having the participants sending self-videos of themselves answering these questions, and the conversation looks like this. And to make this method more self-sustaining, I turned this into a web page platform where users can learn more about the method and send a request to use this by signing up with their phone numbers. The web page also includes a sign-up sheet and guidelines for volunteers who want to volunteer for CAS and facilitate conversations. By signing up, users download guidelines and the images in order to send to users. And guidelines shows them how to craft more conversations that fits into users' situation so that volunteers can become more active during this conversation. Volunteers enjoyed this experience too. They said this exercise of listening without giving advice allowed them to understand the participants' perspective and build relationships through mentorship. Over 10 individual prototypes, young women who used CAS reported that this project activated more objective and supportive discussion during self-reflection. They instilled more trust in themselves and built more confidence in their reactions to sexism. One user said, "I think this is the first time there has been some sort of resolution and response to me talking about sexism in a direct way." So CAS is not just a communication tool for women to speak it out, but also a conversation tool where they interpret to sexism in a constructive way and build confidence. By facilitating more conversations with more goddesses like CAS will reach out to a wider audience and support them in discussing sexism in the workplace. So if you're interested in using this tool or want to be a goddess, please let me know so we can have a conversation. Thank you.